welcome to Getting Into Boundary after a very long hiatus. Oops.
That's one way to put it.
We've been busy. But we're back now. And Cole's mic is now officially working again.
Yeah,
So
thank goodness.
just in time. We're doing great, you can tell. Yeah, how's everyone doing? If you have not tuned into this series or you've missed the portion of the series before, we started back up this year. Welcome. This is Getting Into Boundary, where we do everything the hard way. We will make mistakes. It is not perfect. While we practice a certain percentage of what we show on this stream, we don't practice all of it.
Yeah. Keeps it interesting.
Yeah, keeps it interesting, but it's also part of the process, right? So if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have suggestions, we do want to hear them in the chat because we need help. As much as we work with these tools, we also don't know everything in and out. So if you are hanging out and you're like, there's an easier way to do this, drop it in the chat. We do want to hear from you. As you do, though, just keep in mind that you be professional, be welcoming and respectful. Follow our community guidelines as you participate in the chat. With that, as another note, because we always get comments on this, the LinkedIn comments we don't always see immediately when they come into our platform. So if you have questions and we don't answer them live, it's not because we're ignoring them. It's mostly because we don't see them. So we will go back to LinkedIn afterward and address the comments if they don't come into our platform here. Anyway, Cole, is there anything I missed in that brief intro?
No, I think that was good.
Okay. Here we are. Since it's been some time, we should probably recap what we had been doing.
That we should.
Yeah, I guess, Cole, you've been semi-learning Boundary, although you probably learned more about it than I have at this point. We're just fumbling through this. Yeah, we're just fumbling.
I can support that statement.
Yeah. We're just fumbling. So we basically started with an introduction to Boundary, right? What is it? It is for secure access management. So if you have some kind of target endpoints in your system, whether it be cloud service providers, whether it be on-prem, and you do want to control access to those endpoints, whether it be through SSH or any other TCP connection, Boundary will be able to handle and assist with human to machine authentication, right? And so this is more relevant if you have a bunch of developers or engineers who need access to these target endpoints to do debugging, to do development configuration, and more. We talked briefly about the architecture. So that is controllers. Controllers are sort of the foundation of all of the logic that captures Boundary. So this means the projects. This means the registration of the targets. This means who's authenticating and who's allowed to authenticate, which was what we're going to talk about today. And then we talked about workers. Workers are proxies. They are going to allow you to connect to another target endpoint, right? So this implies that there's connectivity between the controllers and the workers. And then you have to you as a developer or user who's going to connect through Boundary needs direct access to the worker. And the worker will then connect you to whatever target endpoint. And workers, we had a couple episodes where we did have to re-record. Just to make it a little clear, because we had fumbled, if we do fumble a little bit too much and it becomes more confusing than helpful, we do re-record. So workers, we did re-record. Cole, I don't know if you want to recap what exactly we did for workers.
Yes, for workers, we wrangled the 3 different types of workers in terms of how they register, if that is the correct terminology, with the controller, such that the controller is aware that they are a worker that can then be used to connect to a target. We did a worker-led registration, which is very UI heavy. I don't really know how to put that, and I'm not throwing shade at it, but it is. The second one's the KMS-based worker, where you use your cloud key management service to get the worker registered with the controller. And then the final one is controller-led worker, whereby you set the worker up first on the controllers, gives you a token, you hand that to the worker. It's very one way, I would say the most convenient in terms of automation. convenient in terms of automation, assuming you don't want to use the KMS worker. Otherwise, the KMS worker is very nice.
Yeah,
So.
I would just rather use the KMS worker because then it's done all for me. All the keys are encrypted, everything is done securely for me. But there are sometimes in which it's not an option, so controller led it is. A little bit more stability, I think.
Yeah, I agree with the KMS worker. I think if that was if it's never mind. I won't go into it.
It is to you for use.
Yes.
Using KMS.
Stop there. Yeah.
We'll stop there. And then we talked about hosts and targets. So we talked about what does it mean to onboard a bunch of hosts and register them targets. It's a little confusing because you're probably thinking to yourself, like, aren't hosts the same as target? Can host be targets? Well, yeah, it's the terms and as a broader term is a little bit different, right? It's not necessarily the case that, you're using hosts and targets are boundary specific terms, but they're more general, right? From an industry perspective. But hosts are groupings, right? So you can have groupings of hosts in which you don't care what you're targeting. You just want to target them all as a whole. This is pretty appropriate if, let's say, you have a database with multiple replicas or something, and you don't care which replica because really all you're doing is just checking for something, right? Or you have a bunch of hosts that you want to SSH to, VMs that you want to SSH to. And we showed dynamic host catalog, which meant that you don't have to manually onboard each and every host or target endpoint yourself. You can just tell Boundary to go search your cloud service provider and get that information. Fun fact, since it was released earlier this year, Google Cloud does have support now for dynamic host catalog. So as a big update to what our previous episode we talked about, there is now AWS, Azure, and Google. So you can search for all of the hosts dynamically and register them into Boundary on your cloud service provider, on most of the larger cloud service providers.
Yep. I will say that we've done a lot of Terraform with it too, and the domain model is interesting for Boundary as it is, but when you go into Terraform, if you're watching this, I would go back and review those episodes because there's a lot of differently named pieces that represent the things that we've just talked about, that when we're talking about them in plain English, as much as plain as this is, it's pretty plain English. We're not saying the very tight specifics of what those resources might be called. So anyhow.
Now, if you're completely lost and you're like, what happened? Check out our playlist. This is a short link to our playlist, hashicorp.co/getting-into-boundary. We do have them all loaded on there. So there are replays of everything. And then if you want to check out the code, there is the GitHub repository that we have that sort of runs along with this series. So you do get the ability to reproduce this yourself, check out the examples that we're providing if you don't really know it. And then finally, schedule, because we do get asked this very often. I know most folks do tune in by replays, but if you are trying to figure out, if you want to tune in live because you like to hang out with us, we have the last, I would say, 4 episodes coming up. So we're going to talk about credentials injection 2 weeks from now on a Friday. That's a little bit of a different change, but it was going to be 2 weeks from now on March 21st. Troubleshooting and auditing, multi-hop and session recording, and transparent sessions. And they're all going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern. And so do tune in. But if you do miss them, then you can always watch the replays afterward and send us the questions. We do like questions. All right. With that, what are we doing today?
We are going to dive into the wonderful world of OIDC setup Boundary, so that we're not just using username and password to log in as what's the correct word for it? Not an admin, but like a normal user.
A user, anyone who needs access to an endpoint.
And then we're gonna see how we can actually set up different permissions for these users to keep them to only access the resources we want them to.
So we, there's something to be said. There's a disclaimer. We are going to be showing Auth0 today. This is, not because of any particular preference, just because it's easy to show. But you have a number of IDPs, identity providers that you can choose, and there is OIDC integration with them. So please refer to documentation as well as how your IDP is set up in order to do this integration. We're just showing the one that is straightforward for someone to try, pick up, and get started very quickly. As Cole mentioned, username and password are great, but you do have to manage them yourself. And in all likelihood, you have usernames and passwords, and you already manage them in an identity provider somewhere. So why not just reference the identity provider? Makes it a little bit easier. And so it just means that you have to integrate and set up the system. You can link the groups from whatever your identity provider is to Boundary, so you don't have to necessarily redo everything, right? So there's something else to be said about that. But we're not going to go too much into that today, mostly because, again, capabilities, but also just getting the concepts in place, because we're going to probably have a much harder time writing the permissions.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting interesting thing. So like Rosemary said, for the Auth0 stuff, we do have a developer guide up on the developer.hashicorp.com that shows you the setup. So because of that, we're not going to walk through how you hook up Auth0 to Boundary itself. We're going to sort of start from the state where that is done, like that sort of scaffolding is done. It's nothing complicated, whether you're using HCP Boundary or you set it up entirely by yourself. But I think, Rosemary, would you like me to show you what we have set first, or how do you want to go into this?
Let's talk about the setup. Yeah, let's talk about the setup. We'll jump right into it. Why not?
Yeah, because I guess we just covered the whole auth methods concept and OIDC thing. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let me share my screen here. And by that, let me get StreamYard off of here so we don't see the video inception thing. Can we see my screen?
Yep. We can.
All right. So Auth0 is all set up such that we have, well, me as the admin user. We have two users here. One is me again, and this user has actually set up in Boundary itself. We also have one for Rosemary. We haven't set that one up yet so that we can see that. We've got an application set up that's connected to Boundary, our actual Boundary instance here, with all of the different values that are required of it. And doing this, I'll tell you that tutorial that we just posted up in the comments that I see did not make its way to LinkedIn, because good job, LinkedIn.
I'll put it up again as a banner. There we go.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. It really does only take 10 to 15 minutes, maybe at most, assuming you've done everything else that we need. So in addition to that stuff being set up, there was some other setup that got done in the background in context of Terraform if you're using the repo. Also very simple as well. All we did was come into the background and make some different projects. So far, we've just been working out of this getting into Boundary project, but we made 2 other projects. And in those projects, there's some other hosts with targets, so that as we split these users up, we can actually point them to different projects and different hosts and show that they have limited permissions. All right, take it away, Rosemary. Where shall we start from?
Yeah. So let's actually talk about the domain model, what is called the Boundary domain model. And Boundary is kind of split into a couple different, I would say, domains, so that you can segment where your users and what your users are accessing, right? So let's start, at the global level, which is where Cole is right now. And so global scope effectively means, this is what an admin would see. This is what is, you're able to control everything. You're able to typically see, all of the aliases. We'll talk about aliases later, but aliases, you'll see all the Boundary workers. Workers tend to be global. So if you click on workers, you'll see a couple workers there. Users, groups, roles, and more, right? So it is helpful to, it does come by default, but it is helpful to restrict who has access to global, because not everybody has the need to see auth methods and things like that. The other thing to know is that we configured authentication methods, which is shortened to auth methods. The authentication methods can vary, right? You could have a username password, which is what it comes by default, as you can see. But you can also add other ones like OIDC, whatever you want to connect to, whether it be Entra, whether it be Auth0, whether it be Okta, whatever you choose. And you can also choose LDAP as well if you want. So you do have some options here. Well, all of this can be configured by console or by CLI, or API. So you choose how you want to configure it.
Did you say console?
Not a console UI. What do we want to not the
Oh, you
console.
said console. I see.
Console. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were gonna
not
pivot
the
into
product. No.
Okay.
No,
Anyhow. Okay.
no, not unless you want to use like CTS for it. Anyway, so that's the highest level of scope. Again, only your administrator should have access to this, right? Then there's a concept of child scopes, right? So this is the global scope. You can have child scopes after. And if you click that, little drop, there we go, that org. The global can be divided into organizations, which are shortened to orgs. And so orgs are, you can click in. Yeah, just click in. Yeah, orgs pretty much have the hierarchy of projects after that. So the child scope after that is a project. Orgs you can think about aligning to a business unit. So maybe you have a development team that's responsible. And I keep using this example. I really should. Oh, what was your game microservice again? Like one group is responsible for reporting. Another was responsible for like
the shop
store. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you might have a business unit who's like got a set of services for the store, and a business unit that's got a set of services for reporting, right? And so you want to separate those two. So that's why you have organizations, right? You might have different development teams, different ops teams, and things like that. And so then you get into projects. So if you click into a project is where you group most of your targets. So if you want to call out to a certain set of hosts, whether it be Kubernetes cluster, etc., you would group them under a project. So the question is like, does it help to group everything in one project, right? If you know that you're going to have a team that's going to always access a database and SSH into a bunch of VMs. Depends. Maybe just your database administrators should only have access to the database project, right? You don't really want everyone having access to everything. So you'll subdivide within projects that this database goes into this project versus this database goes into another project. So you could divide between prod, non-prod if you really wanted to. You could divide between Kubernetes versus just a plain old database, on a managed service somewhere. You could do on-prem databases versus, cloud databases. You choose how you want to subdivide, but whatever your granular access control needs to be, you'll use projects to divide them at the lowest level. So that's the three. You've got global, organizations, and a project.
Nice. Yeah, I think that hit that because we kind of did it bottom up, didn't we? We configured it and then we sort of made stuff as we went. But that was a good. I will say that if you're trying to track what context you're in, my eyes tend to gravitate towards this left sidebar, but this top bit up here can give you a better context, perhaps, and just knowing like, oh, okay, I'm in this current scope or with this current project, so it's kind of hidden up there. But yeah.
Exactly. So it is important to know that if you are trying to set this up, there is flexibility in moving these things around or moving how you're segmenting access control. So it's not like it's inflexible, but you do want to at least start out with subdividing things between the organization and business units, and then subdividing by just general access and approach, right? So that's project level. So those are just things to keep in mind. That is domain model. We briefly talked about it in other parts of every other episode, but we never deeply went into it. So this is hopefully a more holistic explanation of what to expect. Okay. So let's talk about OIDC. We talked about the setup to go into it. But I guess Cole, I don't know if you want to log in as yourself. Right now you're logged in as admin. So
yeah, let me open up a new window here so that I can not unlog in and relog in 100 times. 1 second. Let me get this set up off screen here so that we don't.
And if you don't have any identity provider and you want to just do all this manually, I'll drop in a link to user pass.
Can we see this here?
Yeah, I can see this. It's a sign.
All right. So I'm going to use Auth0 to sign in. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. Let me get this set up off screen here so that we don't. Okay. Can we see this here? Yeah, I can see this. It's a sign. Use Auth0 to sign in. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's going to take me to Auth0 to sign in. And I know. It's but I do not remember my password, so let me figure that out again. Which, hold on. I like what's funny is when I set up OAuth is like, or when I set up OIDC for this, I used GitHub to set up this to then set up that. But for so let me actually.
Oh boy.
Don't, because it's in my one.
You want to just use mine since mine is set up. It's just not logged.
Oh no, yours is not set up because we still it has to do with here. Hold on, I think I got this.
Okay, all right.
Hold on, I think this. Okay, here we go. Alrighty. Okay, here we go. See, we did it. We did it. Okay.
There you are.
Yay, we did it. All right. So, this is
it's pretty bare bones. There's not much to see, right? Like this is Cole. This is Cole logged in, and for the most part, all he has access to are the orgs, which if you click in the orgs, I don't even know if you can see much of the, you've got projects. So you can see the projects and you can see getting into bar boundary. I guess you do have access. You can see the targets and you can see the sessions, but you can't do anything, right? It's not like you can connect to anything. You can't edit anything. It's just viewing everything. I guess you could manage these, right? If you click manage, it'll let you do. No, it won't let you do. So like Cole can do nothing. Right?
That's so disappointing. I'm like, options. No, just a little empty box there.
It's read only. And that's important, I think, because it's like, again, do you want to give everybody access to everything? No, right? No. But by default, people may need to navigate a little bit because maybe they do need access to a target or they do need access to an organization because they work across different business units, right? In which case, you do want them to have the ability to read and get some of the information, but they don't need all of the information. So like if Cole clicks on EKS nodes, I don't think you can just like individually.
No, if I go to host sources, I just get this.
Exactly. So he can't extract. You can't like exfiltrate the information of like the IP addresses and things like that, right?
Yeah.
With just like by simply logging in with a read-only access. So that's important to note. Now, Cole, do we want to just to complete the workflow? We do have my user, which has done nothing so far.
No, has never been logged in before.
Yes. It's a new user, but has been added, right, to the group of users here.
Yes. So, I don't remember how I did this the first time, but we're gonna hold up. Let me open it. Let me open a new window tab here. We'll just use one of the other guys here. That's fine. We're gonna make it happen. Okay.
We're just using a different profile. That's all.
Yeah, just a different. Okay. All right. In we go. So sign in, and then now I have to do .com. So there. By the way, I do want to show before I do this that in the admin section, if we go to users up at the org here, there is no Rosemary user. I do want to say I haven't relabeled this. This is Cole. I just haven't relabeled it. But Rosemary is not made. But as soon as I log in, it is as Rosemary this first time, it's going to automatically create a user.
Yeah. So, now it's not obvious, right? Like, well, that's kind of like a string there with some ID that's not terribly obvious that it's coming from auth0, right? So there is something to be said if you are debugging which user it is. You do have to do a little bit of investigation as to which one it is and link those IDs up to the user that is actually logging into it.
And here we go. So now I'm logged in as Rosemary. Let's see if this new user popped in here. It should have. It is thinking.
It's like, I got so many users now.
Okay, yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. If you click on it, I wonder if there's any real metadata accounts.
I mean, I guess I could just add this.
Yeah, that's true. What check accounts though? Yeah, it's just this OIDC. Okay, never mind then. It's just the OIDC.
Let's just do this just because it should be.
Yeah, so you may have to do a little bit of metadata to link up the two a little bit, so you can audit. Yeah.
This should
Obvious.
this should show up now in their UI, right?
Yeah.
So this is Cole.
Let's see.
Let's see if it does it. I am hardlined, I promise.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe
I don't
not.
know what.
It might not show it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know
It's
what
fine.
field you do. But
Yeah.
okay.
So just like, just keep in mind that if you are debugging, you do have to make some relationships between, like, as you create them, right? You may need to put a user a name in there or something, just so that you can identify between the user ID and then the account itself. So you can do this tracing of it if you are auditing, but you may find it's a little bit more challenging.
Yep.
Okay. So read only.
Complete.
Yeah.
Read only.
We've this seems a little bit not very terribly useful though. I mean, like, let's say like Cole should have access to foo and Rosemary should have access to bar.
Okay.
Let's configure some roles and permissions, I guess.
Okay.
Right.
So back over here.
Yep. So we're going to create a role, and boundary roles are effectively permissions, right? It's a role tied to a set of permissions, and you can tie that role to a user or to a group. And that will allow that user or that group of users to access the scope that you want. It could be global scope. It could be organization scope. So an example of this is that there's an administration scope. So you can click that, or an administration role. So if you look at that as an example, this is admin grants to all scopes, right? So we are logged in as the admin user. If you click scopes, scopes will tell you it's literally all scopes and anything under it, right? Yes. So that's important to know, that you can describe like the hierarchy of scopes and give it either broad set of scopes under something. So you could say, give me to all projects in an organization. You don't have to just restrict it to one project, or you don't have to specify each project. You could just say, you belong to this organization and you get admin to all projects in this organization, right?
Nice.
And then you have principals. Principals are which users are tied to the role. So I guess in typical identity access management policy and management approach, you do have a policy and then you'll tie a principal to it. So it could be admin, it could be a group, it could be any number of entities. And then you have grants. Grants is where the complexity is going to come in. Grants are permissions. So you can decide what kind of permissions you're going to give to a role. And grant strings have their own formats. So I'm going to put a roles and permissions doc, so folks can, if you are referencing roles and permissions and you want to know how to configure them, we do have some documentation on that. All right. How do you manage roles? So that's important to know. But we're going to be mostly fiddling around with grant strings today because grant strings are the ones that are going to be very important to understand. Grant strings are a little bit of a different format, I guess, than if you're used to the typical API auth formats of the other HashiCorp products. So Vault has its policy description in which it's like all about API paths. Grant strings are a little bit different. So you're going to find just some slight differences. It's not going to be one-to-one. So if you are coming in and you have experience in, like, let's say Vault policies, it doesn't quite map. So do keep that in mind. I think some folks are like, they're expecting it to be the same engine, policy engine. It's not. So the grant string format, I popped it up in the chat as a link. If you do want to reference more complicated ones, we're going to be playing around with it. Nice. We are not going to fiddle with this administration rule, though. So we're not going to touch it because otherwise it will lock us out. So we're not going to edit anything. So
I will cancel.
Yeah, cancel. What we will do is create a new role.
This doesn't.
I think you can just go back to role and get back to roles.
New role.
Actually, if you go back to roles, I do want to actually show another thing. The authenticated user grants. Okay. So anyone who's already authenticated, if you click the principals, so like anybody who's authenticated, scopes, this is anybody who's, gone in, they have global access, right? But if you check the grant, The grant is read, right? You can change your own password. You can list a bunch of stuff. You can read a bunch of stuff. This is what happens with our authenticated users, Cole and myself, because we got logged in and nothing was happening. This is sort of the default grant that we get. And so you look at it and it's basically like anyone, as long as they have a type scope, and then actions read. So you can read all scopes, which is what happened with us. We can list our own auth tokens. We can also read or change our password about our own account, but not other people's accounts. Like that's what the account ID is. You can list the sessions. You can read anything that you started. You can cancel anything that you started, which means we didn't start anything. So doesn't do anything. But we also have a user ID. So anything that's a user has an alias, right? Any of the aliases. And then you have anything that has to do with list and read for targets, right? So this was the default that got attached once we authenticated.
Yeah, this is really good to see too, because you can see some of the interpolation here, right? You see the different types and formats. This is a lot more helpful to see first go than that just, global everything, all the power stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, wildcards are great, but really, you probably don't want to give everybody access to everything.
Yeah.
All right, so let's create a new role.
All right.
And what permissions do you need, Cole, for your user?
Why don't we make like my user just sort of like almost a mini admin for just the foo project? Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Does that work? So what should I call this? The foo admin?
Foo admin. Yeah. So we have a project named foo. It's Cole needs admin to it, so we're going to make sure Cole gets admin access.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm done. All right.
Nice. Okay, so then we are going to talk about scopes, right? Scopes is where we're going to edit. It has access to global scope, which is fair, but we do want to edit this. So if you want to click manage,
all right,
and then we'll manage scopes.
Okay.
We are not going to add all children, I guess, because technically it is under this. Is it under one org? I don't even remember.
So this would add all orgs underneath the scope, which we probably don't want, right? I don't know. But the other one has just all descendants, which is like even more.
Right. Let's do custom.
Okay.
So which org do you want access, or which one? It's in getting into Boundary. So we'll get that one.
Okay.
And then save. So we'll go forward. Custom scopes. I think we just clicked too quickly. Click that again.
Go back.
Click the project selected.
Oh, here we go.
I was like, I think we.
I was like, what? Yeah.
And you just want foo. You just want foo. Yeah, you don't want any of the ones. You just want foo.
Okay.
So you can apply changes.
Nice.
And then save.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. You go in through that guy there. Okay.
Yep. And that's that. So you have managed custom scopes. And that's probably all you really need. Yeah. Just because you give access to a scope doesn't mean that the scope is you're going to automatically get access to everything, right? So that's also something to keep in mind.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to principles because we know we're going to add Cole.
Okay. So I'll click this.
Now we could add like a group, I guess, but we'll just add Cole for now.
Okay. Yeah. This we can. Yeah. So just all right.
And then we'll do grants.
Yay.
Okay. So this is where the tricky part comes along. Ideally, we would want everything within the project scope, right? So ideally, there is a handy dandy resource table, which tells you all of the resources, names and things like that for grant strings.
Yeah.
Let me just put that in chat so folks can view that.
Do you want me to show that on screen?
Yeah, you can show it on screen.
Okay. Let me
here, I'll drop it into here.
Yeah, just Slack it or put it in.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, let me put this on screen.
Yeah. So you'll notice there are a number of resource tables and names and things, right? Yeah. So really, I guess if we want to give you admin, we just start with wildcard for everything, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We can start with that and see what breaks.
So, oh, okay. So from my understanding, then scopes determine the scope that this grant string has like applies to.
Exactly.
Okay, so we don't in here at anywhere have to specify the project or org or anything. Okay, interesting.
No.
All right, so this looked like then what? ID star?
Yeah, ID star, and
Yeah.
then I lost my grant string table. Oh, there we go. Yeah, ID star, IDs equals star. I think
Oh,
it's
IDs
IDs.
equals star.
Yeah, IDs equals star, and then semicolon type equals star, and then semicolon actions equals star. Right. We could get
Yeah.
more granular. We could say create, read, update, set host, and things like that. But you want to be
Yeah.
admin on that.
Yeah. Okay.
All
So
right.
like that?
Yep. Save.
Yeah. Because I guess what we could do is maybe add some to where I can't tinker with other users inside of the project. I don't know. We'll just
And
make
keep
up
in
some
mind
stuff.
though that users are on the global level. So
Oh, okay.
let's see if we can remove the global scope from you, which
Okay.
could have some side effects. So be prepared.
Okay.
But scope, if you go to scopes,
Yeah.
and you do global, let's see if we can get rid of that global scope. So manage and then
Oh, whoops. Whoa.
yeah,
What
you have
just
to click
happened
that
here?
manage button.
Hold.
Yeah.
Wait. What just happened?
Go
Oh,
to
we gotta go
users.
back up. Okay. Here. Okay.
Roles.
Into this guy.
Yep.
Into scopes.
Yeah. Manage.
Manage. Right. I was like, why did it just
Yeah.
take me to the thing?
Yeah.
Okay,
And then don't add the global scope. So deselect that.
Okay.
Save. Yep. There you go.
Wait.
Yep.
Why is
That's
it still
fine.
here?
Oh. Well, I guess I need some kind of read only, but let's refresh that.
Yeah, it could just be a refresh thing. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, in order to manage this scope under it, does it require the global to be able to dive into the
Yeah,
child?
so it does. And that's the only other kind of annoying part about the whole thing.
So let's
So
go
we'll see
here. This is this. I mean, I think this is me. Let's,
I think you have to log out and log back in. But
here, let's see. But in theory, I should be able to actually see stuff now.
Yeah, right.
In this, so
yeah.
we go in.
Yeah, look at that. You have
more.
hosts, sessions, host catalog. You can now make edits to it if you want to.
Yep. See all the hosts inside.
Yep. Now let's check because of, we just want to make sure. If you go back to the global orgs, right? Global org, if you go back to global, and you go into go back up to global. The global
this is global.
Yeah. And then you click org, like getting to boundary or something, whatever.
Yeah.
Can you edit the users? That's the big question, right? Because
nope.
So no, you can add, but you can't really do anything, I guess. And if you check out the roles, there's just
these.
Yeah. Grants applied on this scope. Yeah. But again, not much here. If you create
Wait, is this this is the getting into boundary org. Okay, so an admin into the getting boundary org is separate from an admin and from the global, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
You can have admin for orgs. You can have admin for projects as well.
Yeah.
If you click new role, I guess you could. Let's see. Can you do a new role? Yeah, I guess you could because we did apply it on the org level. So we could get more specific about the project level.
Yeah.
But we can go into projects. If you go into projects and you click bar, let's just see what happens.
Nothing.
Yeah, you can't do anything in bar.
Yeah.
But you can do foo.
Yeah, and foo, everything else is here.
Cool. So it is segmented. We could be more we could try to be a little bit more restrictive. And so why don't we try to do that, right?
Okay. Back to admin.
Yeah, back to the admin. And then let's see if we can fix the scopes a little bit more, right? Because really the grant is applied to all of the scope, right? And we don't want that to be the case. So let's manage the scope and let's see if we can.
So it left that off. So I don't really.
Manage custom scopes.
Okay.
Okay, so don't check the org. So remove the org. Yeah, remove org. Remove just the org.
Just the org.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want to grant the admin on the project, but not on the org and not on global. So if you save.
Okay.
Yep.
And then save again.
Yep. And then
okay, now the global is finally gone.
Exactly. So the org scope is
the org scope. Yeah.
So now
what's this
if you
gonna
go
look
back
like now?
to So the question is, will you have just enough to access a project?
Let's see. I mean, oh yeah, let me refresh here.
Because if part of this is then we may have to add a little bit so that you have read-only access, right?
Yeah. Okay. So it looks like I can. Yeah.
But you can't do anything with the users. You can't do anything. Like before, you could do things with users and roles. This time, you can't do anything, right? So, and then foo, you can do groups and roles on the project itself.
Yeah, but not anything else.
But not anything on the org level, right? So now you are truly admin on that project.
Just this project. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
nice.
Just this project. I don't know. Do you want to connect to a target?
Sure. So to do that, I will need to unauthenticate. I forget how to do it because right now I'm set as the admin in here. Like I did the boundary authenticate. How do you unauthenticate? Do you remember?
Log out. Boundary log out.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Certificate sign. Oh, did I not do the what's the TLS option?
Boundary, TLS insecure, something like that.
Yes. By the way, we're doing this because we have our own custom HTTPS cert, and since we did a self-signed cert, we're getting this error.
Yeah.
Right. Error trying to delete.
No, maybe that's not it.
Let's see here.
I don't remember the field. 1 second.
I know that I've done it before.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's that is it. Is boundary log? Yeah, it is log out, so it should be that. Maybe I can just authenticate as the new user.
Yeah, you could probably do that too, especially. Yeah.
Okay, so how do I use this new version?
Okay. So you're going to do a boundary authenticate.
Yep.
I'm pulling up the auth method because it's not password anymore. It's OIDC.
Yeah.
So boundary. OIDC. Yeah. Boundary authenticate OIDC space and then -auth -method -ID.
And then I need to go get the ID.
Yeah. And then you need to get the auth method ID.
Which is, let me go to this guy, grab this guy, come back over here, insert this guy, and then what?
Just hit enter.
Okay. And it will open me here. And now I have to, I think this might log me out though.
Yeah. You might have to pull up the Chrome.
Let me force it into this guy here. Is this, this is the new me. Okay. No.
Oh, well, I guess it's not gonna.
Maybe what if I like put this guy
down, minimize that.
And put this guy down. Maybe it'll do it now. This is ridiculous.
This is what happens with OIDC.
Aha! We got it.
Yeah.
Yay, we did it. Almost. Now I gotta go figure out what my password was.
Again.
Yeah.
How'd you do this again? Number the second time.
Right. Oh wait, you know what? I have it right here. Hold on. Yes. Okay. So in theory, this should do it.
In theory.
No, I don't want to save that. Okay. So, all right. So I was successfully logged in.
Yep.
So now I should be able to do
boundary connect. Yeah.
Connect. SSH, and then we need the target ID of the actual this guy. Yeah. And then this is the username EC2 user. So, nice.
Yay. So it does connect, right? So
yay.
And since you can't view the other targets in the other projects, there's you probably really couldn't connect to them.
Yeah,
anyway,
I guess we could try, right? I could just grab the.
I mean, you could, but keep the session open for a second. If you click on the sessions tab, not the sessions tab, the sessions section of that login.
Which one? Mine?
Yeah, yours. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can Cole's session. Cole can see his own session. Now, theoretically, I should also be able to see your session. Although I don't think that's the case. Actually, I won't be able to see your session because it's your session. So if we go to my user now,
yes,
because I'm read only. So if we go to Foo, we should not see the session, I don't think. Yeah, so it won't show Cole's session because there is no session to be seen, right? Like it's not my session. I didn't open it, so Cole did, right?
But the admin should definitely be able to see it, right?
Yes, but the admin should definitely be able to see it.
Yes. So if we go to boop, 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 boop. Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. Now you can imagine that, like maybe I'm not part of any dev team necessarily, but I'm part of a security team and I do need to audit what's going on. I don't need full admin access. I just need to audit the sessions themselves and or operation. I'm like security operations or something. So let's see if we can grant Rosemary access to view the sessions and to cancel the sessions. But
cool.
Not to open any targets.
I like that. Yeah, let's do that.
Let's try that.
So I need to go back up to roles, right? So what do we want to call this? Foo auditor or something?
Yeah, Foo auditor.
Foo auditor. You know what it is. Okay.
I've never been an auditor, so this is a new one. I don't know how to feel about this. Okay, so we'll just say scopes. Okay. And then we will give every access to every scope. Theoretically, like if you're an auditor, you do want to see all of the sessions that are available, maybe, right?
So should I change the name from Foo auditor to global auditor?
Global auditor, yeah. Do global auditor. Why not? We'll just do global auditor.
Global auditor.
Yeah, everybody's sessions. I see everybody's sessions.
See all. Okay.
Yeah. So scopes in this case, we could do global scope, and we don't even have to change anything. Although notice there's no descendant, right? So it doesn't say that I have access to descendants.
Yeah. Do we need to do that?
Yes. We can just try this for now, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to work.
Okay. Cool. So we'll mark that for later.
Yeah. Mark that for later.
Do you want to do a group?
Yeah, let's do a group. Let's do a group. Let's create a group of auditors.
Yes. Global auditors. Okay.
Yep. And then I can save.
You can see all. Okay. All right. There we go.
Lovely. We're going to add me as a member.
Okay.
Yay. Wow. So great.
All right.
All right. We've added me as a member, and now we can go back to roles, and we can now figure this out. So we got global auditors. Principals, we're going to add a group as a principal instead of a user. So this is how you would, if you have like groups of people who have access to certain business units, things like that, then you would put them in a group. If you're talking about like intro groups and things like that, you would have these mappings that you can map one-to-one between the two. You will have to do them manually a little bit. So keep that in mind. It's not like it's going to automatically import those things for you, but you will have to do a mapping of whatever is in your IDP to Boundary. So keep that in mind. Cool. So you can add the principal.
Added.
Okay. And then grant. Yeah. So we are going to do, I'm thinking IDs equals star.
So that means all users, right?
Yeah.
Or wait, that means all principals, right?
No, that means all sessions. So
that means all
of that. Okay. Yeah, all of that. And then I think it's type. Let me just get my grand string. Hold on. Yeah, type equals sessions.
Okay.
Yeah. Type equals sessions. And then semicolon, and then actions equals, well, auditors will, let's see, read, list, yeah, read, cancel, yeah, cancel. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
So
Read,
they'll
list,
list,
and
read,
cancel.
and cancel. Yep.
All right.
Now, those are the max of all. Those are like all of them those are all permissions under sessions. So you could just do wildcard, but hey, assuming you're never going to open a session,
Oh, open needs to be is an action too.
There's actually a separate action for allowing someone to start a session to connect. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's like connect a session or something like that. Yeah. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Yep.
Added and then save.
Yep.
Oh, error in provided fields. What's it missing?
Oh, I think it's because it's actions are read and IDs type session, not sessions.
Oh, just session.
Session.
Hey, it's nice I caught that.
Yep,
that's it.
Yeah, and then you're also going to need. Oh no, that works. That's fine. Okay. I was like looking at the docs. I was like, great string docs. Okay. That should be good.
Okay. Yeah. So this might cause a problem, but let's see, right?
Yeah. So if you wanted to allow the auditors to start a session, it's on the target level. Or on the target type. So keep that in mind. This is not going to allow an auditor in this group to start a session. It's just going to let someone read the list of sessions.
Okay.
So you can save it. And then if you go to Rosemary and check out the
now we're here. I'm going to refresh it.
Let's see. Will it show everything? I think because we didn't explicitly grant to the descendants, we can't see anything. Yeah. And there would not be sessions on the global level. So
yeah.
All right.
So back we go.
Yep, back we go.
Where are you? Here we go. So scopes, manage, right? All right. And then all descendants.
All descendants.
All right. Just a heads up. Yes. Okay. All right. So now should have all the power, right?
Yeah.
Let's see.
One can only hope that our auditors can do their jobs effectively.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, now we see that it's been open, although it doesn't say who started it, which is a bit strange.
Yeah, that is weird. I wonder if unusual. Does it show it because it shows it on the admin side?
It might not be the users. Did it show it on the admin side? Hold on.
Yeah, if we go to the sessions, it does show.
Oh, I guess we didn't give read only to users, so we should probably grant that as well.
Okay, so let me go back to my admin, who's purple here. Here we go. So back to roles, global auditor.
Yeah.
Grants, right?
Grants. Okay, so we're going to add a new grant, and it's going to be IDs equals star, and then semicolon, type equals user.
Just user?
Just user.
Okay.
And then and then actions equals read.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do read. I don't think we need list.
Okay. Wait, hold on. Did I do this right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let's save and let's try this again. So it is kind of nice that the grant string didn't allow the auditor to see a user. So now, we're adding it, and hopefully we should be able to see a user. But I don't know.
Maybe we need to do list.
List. I think we probably need to do list.
Let's do list. Let's add list.
I think it's also list resolvable aliases as well.
Yeah, because that might be it. So wait, is that an actual action?
Yeah. So comma. List dash resolvable dash aliases.
Is that even how you spell resolvable? Resolvable.
Yes, that is. Because we added Cole's alias.
Yeah. So like so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have to add them to make explicitly. Otherwise,
all right.
We'll have some issues.
At first, I was like, "This is falling kind of like crud," and then the deeper we get into, the more like this isn't.
It's not fully. Yeah. That's why it's like you got to read the resource table carefully.
All right.
There we go. Yeah. So
yay.
That's good. It's kind of nice, right? It's not going to air out on you and tell you like this is a problem. But if you do need to add more access because someone needs more information, you can add more information. So here I can go and cancel Cole's session.
Yes. So let's see that this session's still definitely open. I'm messing around and suddenly Rosemary is like, no.
Yeah.
And I have been kicked out.
Yeah, exactly. So the auditor has closed that session.
Nice.
And that's like those are grant strings. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we would put on the list of things that we do need to show, but I think I think we pretty much targeted, right? We showed how you can use projects, the project scopes to target, to set what someone's going to target, right?
Yeah, we actually got through like all of it. I'm very surprised.
Yeah. And then we tinkered. We did tinker.
We did. We got through it. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah. So we tinkered with some of the grant strings, right? We did a little bit of changing for some, for an auditor who doesn't need access to everything, doesn't need to open sessions, but does need the ability to read sessions and identify a user associated with the session.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's that. Nice. What do you think, Cole?
I've like got the meta here of like, I'm always like, well, on one hand, I'm in here being the practitioner. On the other hand, I'm here in the stream. I'm like, are we gonna really get this all done in an hour? And I'm like, we did. We got it. We got the whole thing done. It's great. It was great.
You're astounded.
I'm astounded. I'm astounded. We covered all the important parts. That was a really good use case of all of it. So yeah, that was good.
Yeah. There, and the things that we didn't really show, we could go in more detail, but for the most part, we don't go into significant detail because I think it will depend on your setup, and everybody's a little bit different, right? But keep in mind, there's also like a managed group, right? So there's not just a group, but what I was mentioning before was not just a straightforward group. There is an OIDC or an LDAP managed group that you can set up. So if we had groups set up in Auth0 with auditor and developer, we can onboard those in, but you do need to filter and onboard those into Boundary, right? Boundary needs some awareness that they are in existence and someone needs to validate against them. So those are officially called managed groups. They're not the same as the group that Cole and I set up. This is sort of us manually starting it up. But if you do want to link the group from your IDP to Boundary, you do have to at least set up or configure some kind of managed group. And that managed group has a filter that filters based on certain attributes and things like that. So keep that in mind. We didn't show that here, but if you do want to scale your deployment and your access, that's one thing that you should keep in mind. Yeah. I think we're good. That's it. Oh, why don't you try to keep making this a thing?
Every time we got to do it. It's the Boundary B. It's the Boundary B.
All right. With that, we're going to close out this thing. It was oddly more smooth than we expected. We didn't actually test out the grant strings fully. So, it's like good. We got through the docs and we read through it. So can confirm. Very helpful. The next one we're going to talk about is a little bit more complicated, and that's credentials injection. So, yay. So, as you may have noticed, Cole has been storing his SSH key and whatever on his local machine to SSH into some machines. And also if you decide to set up a database, right? Like maybe Cole, you have credentials that you want to get for your database, and you don't want to save them somewhere. Yeah. So we're going to do credentials injection, which is going to take a little bit longer and maybe going to be a little bit more challenging. But it is really useful once you set it up. Because then
it's really
a developer doesn't need to care about the database credential anymore or the SSH key, right? It's all handled on their behalf. With that, we will hopefully have you on have you folks tuning in a couple weeks. And if you're watching the replay, let us know if there's anything else you want to see. Have a good one.